Guys, welcome and welcome back again to my channel. My name is Theo Goodness. Talk about life in the UK, nursing, travels, and of course, right now I'm making my way to Australia, so I'm making my content more of Australia. Today, I've got a lovely guest with me. She's a registered nurse. She moved from the UK to New Zealand, and from New Zealand, she's currently in Australia. I mean, I'm here to learn a lot because most of you already know I'm in the same pathway. But I'm not going to New Zealand. I'm jumping straight to Australia. So, Tembi, let us meet you. Introduce yourself to my audience.
Hello, my name is Tembi. Like Nigeria said, I'm a nurse and I've been a nurse for about 6 years now. I was registered and trained in the UK, and in 2021, I moved to New Zealand. So I registered as well in New Zealand. So I worked in New Zealand for about 18 months or so. And in April this year, April 2023, I decided to move to Australia. And in Australia, I've just been doing like agency work, whereas in New Zealand and in England, it was permanent jobs. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So, you left the UK to New Zealand. Can you tell us why you left UK to New Zealand?
Well, my main reason for leaving was it was a number of things, but it was mainly like the pandemic. Like I don't know if you guys remember, but the pandemic, hey, it was hard, guys.
It was, yeah, it was.
Working in the NHS in the pandemic was so tough, especially in the early days where there wasn't any PPE. And for me, like I work in the community, I'm a community mental health nurse. So we still had to be going out and going to people's houses and stuff like that. And it was just exhausting. And I found myself, working throughout the pandemic, throughout the lockdowns, just exhausting and just tiring. And I was getting really frustrated that obviously we're working so hard. It just felt like the government wasn't really appreciating us. They weren't even like giving us pay rises or anything like that. They were having parties.
Every Thursday.
We were getting claps. Oh my God. Hated it. Absolutely hated that. And I just thought at some point I was like, you know what? This can't go on forever. I need a change. And one of the things I'd always wanted to do was actually to move to Australia and to work abroad for about 2 years and just to travel. But I never got around to doing it. I think I just finished university and just started working and just enjoying the money and not traveling. So the pandemic came and, just seeing so many people dying left, right, and center. It was like a shock to the system where I was like, you know what? I need a change. I need to leave the NHS. I need to leave the UK. I need to go and travel. I need a blank slate. So by some miracle, I don't know what it was, but it was, I was like, I just need to leave. And then I ended up finding a job in New Zealand, which was actually advertised on NHS jobs. And I made an inquiry about that job. I spoke to the employer and they were like, yeah, they can help me to move even during the pandemic because they were still hiring because they themselves were having
short.
Yeah. So I just saw it as an opportunity to not only go and see New Zealand and this side of the world, but then to also work at the same time so that I'm like funding my travels as I go. Yeah.
And I think, to be fair, New Zealand and Australia actually managed the pandemic more than the UK. So yeah, I don't blame anybody that left at that point because why not? It was really scary here. At a point, I was always scared for my life. Yeah.
It was so scary. And it was actually interesting. I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but it was so interesting because we'd gone through 4 lockdowns in the UK. And then when I got to New Zealand, we went straight into a lockdown there. That was their first lockdown in a year.
Yeah, they actually
one case of COVID. Because one case of COVID had been found. And the way everyone was so like compliant, everyone was like following the rules. It was a very strict lockdown, and I was like, oh my God,
it can never be the UK.
Never be the UK. Never.
Okay, so how was life in New Zealand and why did you move to Australia? from New
Life in New
Zealand?
Zealand was, yeah, life in New Zealand was great. I feel like overall, the job that I settled into was really good. I had really good work colleagues. I made a few friends from work. Socially as well, Auckland. I feel like Auckland was a really great place socially for me. I was able to meet a lot of people, and on weekends and on my annual leave, I was able to like go on like so many different road trips. So across not only the North Island of New Zealand, but also the South Island as well. So I really got to explore a lot.
So, how would you say about the salary for nurses in New Zealand as compared to the UK? Because here in the UK, band five, which is the starting salary, would be like £27,000. How is
Yeah.
it there for newly qualified nurses in New Zealand?
The newly qualified nurses in New Zealand, this just changed very, very recently. I want to say in the last couple of months, because they were also going through their own like pay struggles and pay increases. So this
Yeah,
has changed drastically. I
I
want to
think they received
say,
like 10 rise, or how many percent?
yeah, they received even I received a huge pay rise before I left.
I saw it and I was like, the UK can
Yeah.
never.
So, yeah, nursing is I want to say it's about 70,000 New Zealand dollars, roughly up to for a starting salary for a new grad nurse. But then that's also going to vary between community nursing and like inpatient nursing.
Location
So
as
there's
well.
yeah, so exactly. And I think you get paid a little bit more if you're in Auckland than you would if you're outside. So it used to be, I remember the starting salary for when I first went to New Zealand was like 62,000 New Zealand dollars for a new grad nurse. So that's definitely increased by about 15%, which I think would take it up to about 70,000 New Zealand dollars, which is about £35,000 to start off with. And I would say for me personally, when I moved to New Zealand, I got like a pay increase of about £10,000 equivalent if we're putting it
Wow. But
equivalent.
that's a lot, to be honest. And did you ever think that you were able to save more in New Zealand as compared to the UK?
I would say I had different circumstances
Oh,
actually.
okay.
Because when I was in the UK, I was living in mum and dad's house.
Uh,
So I wasn't paying like all the bills and stuff. So I was
yeah.
able to save, but still help out. Whereas in New Zealand, I was living by myself. But I would say even if I was living by myself when I was in England, I would be able to save more in New Zealand
Okay,
even
that's
though
fair.
it's expensive. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, because I feel like the money was better compared to New Zealand as well. Everything just felt a lot more spacious.
Bigger.
You
Yeah.
didn't feel like you were sitting on top of your neighbor. Like the houses were like stuck to each other.
I know what you're saying. I understand.
Yeah. So definitely the space, especially as you sort of get out into the outskirts of the city and when you go to the small towns, it feels very, very spacious compared to the UK.
What are the differences you've noticed? Which practice do you think is better, career progression wise? Which do you think is better?
New Zealand, it was very nurse led, and in the inpatient unit, the wards are better staffed. There is a higher like nurse to patient ratio. You get like 6 nurses on a shift, like which is unheard of compared to the UK. So a bit warm because New Zealand, the winter there in Auckland, it rains more, but it's like 12 to 14 degrees. So you're not really feeling chilly as such. It's more just like damp and wet.
Ever thought of like going to Canada or US to practice?
The US, no. Canada, I have thought about Canada, to be fair. I did think about it. I gave it about a year ago. I was giving it some serious thought. But just thinking of like the pros and cons. And one thing that's really important to me is like sunlight and like heat and being near beaches and stuff. And I guess you can do that in Canada, but I can't deal with like the extreme winters of Canada, the snow, the darkness, like that's
Okay.
I really couldn't do that. And if I was to go to Canada, I think I probably just want to go and visit for now. And maybe just to try it out maybe for a few months, but I don't think I would Yeah, no, I'm not really interested at the moment. I think from what I've seen of Australia and New Zealand, it's enough for me to feel like, okay, I can settle here. Yeah.
And US,
No, I'm not
the money
interested.
is better there.
I don't care about America. Those guns.
I
No, we're not going there. I'm not doing
okay.
there's random shootings and no. America just feels a bit too dangerous for no reason.
Mm.
And I just feel like the racism there would be like 10 times.